Hello and welcome back to Hindustan Astrology. I'm Katya, and in today's video we are going to discuss the month of May 2023 for the Vedic Sidereal Astrology Forecast. Now this month we have a lot of change going on. Right the day after our solar eclipse on the 21st of April, we had Jupiter going into Aries, and we had Mercury going retrograde. So on May 1st, now we have Pluto going retrograde. And after that, we're going to have our lunar eclipse, which will be in the sign of Sidereal Libra. And then after that, we're going to have Mars is going to go debilitated this month, and Venus is going to be playing catch up with him. So, this summer Venus will be going retrograde, and so having Mars and Venus together for some time, before she goes retrograde, is going to kind of set the stage for a lot of passion, a lot of changes going on. And then at the end of the month, we have our new moon, which is going to be very telling of, I think, the energy of where a lot of issues for women are going right now. And also, things such as all things Venus, right? So Venus basically is luxuries. Of course, she rules women, but luxuries. And as we saw with the rocket explosion, which I actually predicted that was something that was in my webinar that I did on April 2nd with Dr. Cynthia Canholi. I did the historical research on what happens when we have eclipses with Rahu in Ashwini and Ketu in Libra in Vishaka. And I was surprised to find that in 1985, there were several Challenger missions that they launched, right? But the one that they did in, I believe it was February of 1985, it had some issues with the engine, and those engine problems resulted in Challenger 7 on January 28th of 1986 exploding. And so when I saw that, I knew that all of these rocket launches that SpaceX and NASA and other, Bezos and everybody else who's doing it, I knew there were going to be some problems, and I knew that they were going to take people up there eventually. So I really thought that the explosion possibility would happen when Venus went retrograde. I really didn't think that they would launch on an eclipse, but they did. And when they did that, I was just shocked at how these patterns repeat themselves. And so why would Venus be ruling rockets, right? Because it's obviously Mars. But Venus is luxuries, and for a lot of these billionaires, this is these are their toys. This is what they want to spend their money on. So Venus is going to be really central starting this month. So let's take a look at everything. All right, so here we have everything for May. Like I said, May 1st, we have Pluto going retrograde at 6 degrees of Capricorn, Uttara Ashada. And, Pluto is, takes a really long time to go around the sun, 248 years. As we've been talking about for a long time, in the United States chart, we're having a Pluto retrograde because Pluto is returning back to its original position. And obviously you can only see this in a country's chart or something like that. So on Valentine's Day 2024, we will be having our actual Pluto return. And what is this about? Well, Pluto is the planet of hidden things, secret societies, small things such as a virus that can take you down or an atom bomb, right? So Pluto has the ability to transform at a molecular level, and In the United States chart, it's in the second house, which is money, you know. And so we're going to be transforming how we deal with money, right? Cryptocurrency, all of this stuff. By next year, it's going to be very interesting. So as he goes retrograde, it's just, you know, he's brighter in the sky. There's more emphasis upon those issues. And indeed, we are seeing, finally, I think, the crypto markets are decoupling from the Dow Jones. And so that's going to be an issue over this next year is, you know, watching how the two perform side by side. So just pay attention. May 2nd, Venus enters Gemini. She's been in her own sign of Taurus, which has been wonderful. But May 2nd, she enters Gemini and will be conjunct Mars until the end of the month. And they're going to be playing catch up all summer. So she'll be in Gemini with him until the 10th. And then we have our full moon penumbral lunar eclipse, which is May 5th at 1:35 p.m. at 20 degrees of Libra, Vishaka. And so now I would like to show you part of my presentation that I did on the eclipses. We didn't have a lot of time to like go over everything, so I just want to show you. Okay, so here we have the lunar eclipse path. It's going to go over, so the solar eclipse was basically from Western Australia, northwestern Australia up into Indonesia, and now we're going to be going from that same area but across to the west. So this is what's coming up on May 5th. So moon in Libra, Vishaka Nakshatra. Let's just go over some of the basic meanings of what this is, right? Means the fork-shaped and spans from 20 degrees of Libra to 3.2 of Scorpio. The moon is debilitated at 3 degrees of Scorpio, Vishaka. So that's something to pay attention to because Mother is actually the protector. And when abuse happens to a child, it's a lot of times it's because the mother doesn't know. And so a lot of these issues of uncovering really, I mean, on a personal level, it's about uncovering emotional wounds that need to be healed. The symbols are a triumphal arch or a potter's wheel. The deity is Indra Agni, which is a combination of Indra, the chief of the gods, and Agni, the god of fire. The fixed stars that belong to this lunar mansion are the four stars forming the scales in the constellation of Libra. Zuban el Ganubi gives tenaciousness in achieving goals, but can be cruel and revengeful. I found that the fixed star Unuk al-Hai also fits here, as it's at 28.54 degrees of Sidereal Libra. It's just a little off the ecliptic, right? Vishaka Nakshatra is the star of purpose. Individuals that have this as their Lagna, moon, or sun in their chart are extremely goal-driven, competitive, and jealous, and they do not like to lose. They are very judgmental and cutthroat, fork-tongued too. Fork-tongued means that they can lie. Vishaka Nakshatra is the star of purpose. Individuals that have this as their Lagna, oh, we already read that. Right. So if they don't get what they want, they will fight for it and fight dirty. They need to focus on being a spiritual warrior. And the second half of life is better, ruled by the planet Jupiter. And the animal is the male tiger. The Shakti of this nakshatra is the Vyapana Shakti. And the result of the Shakti is the fruit of the harvest. The sounds for this pada are T. So pada 1 is T, pada 2 is tu, pada 3 is te, pada 4 is tu or toe. And what does this mean? Well, this means that there are sounds attributed to each nakshatra. And so when significant transits happen in those nakshatras, you want to pay attention to, you know, if you're doing mundane astrology, you want to pay attention to companies or brands or things you see in the news that start with those letters. On a personal level, if you're beginning a business or something, or, you know, something significant happens to you from somebody with these letters, then you know it's tied up with the energy of this eclipse, okay? And the aromatherapy remedies for this nakshatra are any flowers, because Venus is flowers, and incense resins, because that's Jupiter, such as frankincense, myrrh, amber, and balsam. Those are wonderful things to either, you know, do as incense or aromatherapy, or even taking like a piece of charcoal, putting amber resin on it or something. It's a great time to do that. So this is the transit analysis. Let me move this out of the way so you can see. Okay. So as you can see, we have Jupiter, Rahu, Mercury retrograde, the Sun, and Uranus all conjunct in Aries for this lunar eclipse. Solar flares and consequential earthquakes and storms. Now, why is that? Well, I've been following this for some time, and planets that are conjunct the Sun, close, or in opposition, if there's many of them, it just makes the Sun go erratic. Like it just doesn't like all that pressure on it. And so even though Sun is the superstar, we say in astrology, and that every planet that comes into his shadow, you know, he outshines them, but they cause him to go erratic. And so solar flares are very common during this time. And actually, I saw this morning when I was watching Ben Davidson of the Suspicious Observers, he was talking about an incoming CME. And so I think we're going to kind of see this throughout the month. It causes communication glitches in media because of it affecting the satellites. It affects the grid, right? Like if we have a really big solar flare, it could take us out. And it affects our personal lives too. Because when a CME is Earth facing, what happens is it's a lot of pressure on our electromagnetic body. And it's been proven, it's not a theory, it's actually proven that solar flares can cause anxiety, depression, many suicides happen at that time. It can give you a heart attack. So yeah, you got to be real careful when we have solar flares. And Saturn is giving his third aspect to Aries now. And this is something that's huge for, you know, the whole time that Saturn is in Aquarius and Aries is in Jupiter. Saturn's giving his third aspect. So he's kind of dampening Jupiter's energy a little bit. Plus Jupiter's conjunct Rahu. And Jupiter is guru, right? Gu is darkness, Ru is the remover. So having the remover of darkness with the planet of darkness, Rahu, means that Jupiter's going to be real busy trying to get rid of that darkness. But it also means that we need to be careful of getting into nefarious schemes. Like if we think there's some great, you know, trick to gain more crypto, or we get into something that we're not certain of at this time, it can backfire. So keep it clean. Don't, you know, think that you're going to get away with any kind of nefarious activity right now, because you're not, regarding anything, whether you are a spiritual teacher or you're just into the stock market. Like, now is not a time to test the fates. Yeah, so another thing, you know, with the Dow Jones is that there could be a rally. You know, interest rates could come down. I think they will. Seems like the stock, real estate market is coming back. Crypto has been going up. And this summer we might see the decoupling of the Dow Jones and the crypto world could be separating. And, you know, when lunar eclipse, K2 moon conjunction, right, always deals with the mind and the emotions. So there could be a lot of fear propaganda right now with Mercury retrograde opposite. So now is a time to Be very leery of what you hear in the media, and just do your own research. That's the best thing you can do, is go to the source. Don't rely upon what other people say. If all you know is from what other people have told you, then that's going to be very dangerous during this time. So now is the time to do your own research and not rely upon your teachers or the media or anybody else to tell you the facts and the truth, okay? Venus-Mars conjunction indicates a possibility of war with our enemies. Now, why is that? That's because in the United States chart, which I don't have up here, but our ascendant is Sagittarius. So that means that Venus and Mars are opposite. Now, again, why would Venus indicate war? Well, it kind of explains why, you know, as an astrologer, many of my teachers have studied the chart of Hitler because we're trying to figure out what made him such a sicko madman, right? Well, he had Venus very prominent in his chart. And like I said, Venus rules billionaires, and billionaires' toys are can be things like rockets, right? Things of war. So that's why when you see Venus with Mars, you know that that can indicate war. And it's in our 7th house, which is the house of the opponent. So this summer is going to be real tricky. We're going to be, you know, walking on eggshells not to increase a war. And to tell you the truth, you know, with all of these chemical explosions and train derailments, something's attacking us. I don't want to speculate, but it's very clear that things around us are in chaos, and it can't be random at this point. So the 9th and the 3rd axis are the houses of the day for this lunar eclipse, which means that the ascendant for Washington, D.C. for this is going to be Leo, and that has Saturn opposite. But the 9th and 3rd axis indicates law and education, writings, propaganda, you know, things to do with education, especially for kids. I mean, things are so crazy right now. Last week there was a bomb threat for like 40 school districts in Indiana, and they had to go on to e-learning. So yeah, having this, you know, K2 and Moon, which indicates OCD, anxiety, things like that. It's in the 3rd house of learning. I think of the 3rd house as like gossip, news. It's the actual, you know, being a student, whereas the 9th house is being the professor. It's higher education. It's philosophy, it's religion, spirituality, it's the father. It can indicate authority as well. So having this lit up for this lunar eclipse is a little just worrisome for kids. You know, just follow your gut. That's the best thing I can tell you. You know, I don't want to engage in any propaganda or any conspiracy theories either. All I can say is follow your gut. That's the best way to deal with a lunar eclipse. And I thought this would be a good opportunity to look at the 2 stars that are associated with Vishaka. The traditional one is Zubin El Ganubi, and then the one that I've associated it with is Unak al-Hai, which is the heart of the serpent, which is actually in the throat. I don't know if you guys knew this, but for every snake, their heart is not in the middle, their heart is in their throat because they can protect it better. So Zubin El Ganubi is at 15 degrees 5 minutes of tropical Scorpio, but it's at 22 degrees of sidereal Libra. Saturn Mars, or Mars Saturn planet. Now, what does that mean? Hold on. How can a star have a planetary affiliation? Well, that's because the light from those stars outside of our solar system, they have to penetrate through our whole solar system magnetic bubble for us to see from this planet, right? So that light takes on, kind of merges with the light from our solar system. That's the best way I can explain it, because everything is light and everything in light is frequency, right? So this is how Ptolemy gave these planetary affiliations to fixed stars. Now, as a Saturn-Mars or a Mars-Saturn type star, it is bold, cruel, heartless, and adulterous, criminal, liar, loss of estates, poverty, and few friends. Doesn't sound like much fun, does it? Fixed star Zubin El Ganubi, or Alpha Librae, is a 2.7 magnitude pale yellow and light gray double star and the southern scale of the balance, the Libra constellation. The traditional name Zubin El Ganubi is from the Arabic Al-Zubana Al-Ganubi. Now, I will say, as somebody who took Arabic and can read and write it, Ganubi is an Egyptian pronunciation because they pronounce all of the J, or the J letter in Arabic, as a G, but everybody else in the Arab world pronounces it as a J or a Ja. So it'd be Al-Zubana Al-Janubi, okay? Which means the southern claw. Just a little tidbit for you to know. Before the scales were made separate constellations, it formed the claws of the Scorpius constellation. Interesting. Symbolically called the insufficient price. It causes malevolence, obstruction, an unforgiving character, violence, disease, lying, crime, disgrace, and danger of poison. Well, I think we've been seeing that so far, haven't we, with all of these chemical explosions and train derailments, etc. The southern scales is a double star. Its brighter partner is a Mars character with a weak blend of Saturn. So again, the same type energy. The unhelpful influence of this star is said to be noticeable, especially in natives who were born during the night. So in other words, the weaker star has more dominance for people born at night. A bad omen for health of the native is given if sun or moon is in conjunction with the southern scales. It has been noted that it is particularly disadvantageous to have Saturn or Neptune tied up with this star. Well, we're not going to have that for this eclipse, but we are going to have K2. So, yeah, that's not so great. Even the conjunction with Jupiter is credited as being adverse. Velo, which is an astrology scholar on the western side, has recorded the confiscation of possessions during times of war. Oh boy. Yeah. So and Libra is law. So if you're in a lawsuit, you better be careful during this time. Just be very careful. A credit given to the southern and northern scales is that they both bestow an immortal name. So that means if you're born with this star, you could become famous or infamous, probably. However, this comes about more by tragic circumstances than by well-noted success. Humans engaged in a relationship with others, marital, judicious, or whatever, need to keep a very clear head and heart if this star is strong with them. It frequently shows up ill-aspected in many unfortunate situations, from domestic strife and miscarriages of justice to psychopathic killings that start out in the guise of love. Boy, let's unpack that for a second. So in other words, if you're in a dangerous situation as a woman, get out now, because when the lunar eclipse happens, it could get worse. And also miscarriages of justice. Well, so far the Federal Supreme Court has kept the abortion pill legal, but maybe at this time something may overturn or something may happen. So, it may go back to the states again, which I don't, my opinion doesn't matter, right? I'm just telling you what I see. And then obviously, crimes of love, like, don't don't put yourself in a dangerous situation during this lunar eclipse. But again, its appearance in better aspect is often just the right moment to repair a relationship and to reconsider an earlier harsh judgment. So in other words, you know, maybe you, jump to conclusions with somebody that really is innocent. So give them the benefit of the doubt. But obviously, you know, if you're in a, dangerous situation, get out. But if it's not really dangerous, if you're just overreacting, then this could be a time when that is revealed to you. Zubin el-Ganubi star rules the lower half of the colon in the human body. And so here we have Zubin el-Ganubi. Here's the scales, right? And so it's here. And this is what the star actually looks like. It's a double star, right? So here's the other one. Now let's contrast it in meaning with Unuk al-Hai, because it also fits, because it's at 28.5 degrees of Libra. Now this is a Saturn-Venus star. It is bold, cruel, heartless, adulterous, criminal, liar, loss of estates, poverty, and few friends. That's Saturn, right? But Venus, if a star has a Venus spectra, this means that the star is closer to the outside of the constellation, because the stars that are on the limbs or on the outer part of it, those are Venus. And Venus is, you know, it brings, the ability to relate to others. It brings love. It brings a softness to the star. It brings an artistic flair to the star. So it softens it a bit, right? Fixed star Unuk al-Hai is Alpha Serpentis, and it's a 2.6 magnitude yellow double star, again another double star, in the neck of the serpent, or the Serpens constellation. And so you see, this is Ophiuchus, and this is Serpens, right? So this is the head of the serpent, and you can see he's closer to the neck than he is the middle of the serpent, where the heart would be, right? Traditional name Unuk al-Hai is from the Arabic Unuk al-Haya, which means the serpent's neck. The Latin name for the star is Cor Serpentis, which means the heart of the serpent. It gives immortality, accidents, violence, and danger of poison. And so I think this fits Vishaka very well, because Vishaka people are very driven. They have, Vishaka also goes into Scorpio, right? And the moon is debilitated at 3 degrees of Scorpio, Vishaka. So I feel like, these people, because they weren't protected, oftentimes either physically or emotionally from their mother, they're very attack oriented, right? They have to protect and take care of themselves. And so they're very driven. They're great as business people, especially if they have some planets in Anurada, the next nakshatra, will make them much friendlier. If they have a good Venus or Jupiter, because Jupiter rules this nakshatra, something to soften it, they could be very driven. But if not, they could be the ones that are the criminals, right? Because they're so put out that they were not emotionally nurtured enough as a child. And so they can be very vicious like a serpent and attack, go straight for the neck, be very cutthroat, like that term cutthroat in business. That's Vishaka. And so if you, for this lunar eclipse, if it's in Libra, it's in your first house, putting all of these planets in your 7th house, and there's definitely something going on with your relationships, with law. There are a lot of problems you got to iron out. And Venus and Mars together, definitely romance and romantic relationships are going to be a focal point. Remember, this is an eclipse, so things are revealed during the eclipse that you didn't know before. So for you, Libra, it will be in your partnerships, marriage, or business. Scorpio, this is going to be in your 12th house, right? because you're here. And so the eclipse is happening in your 12th house. And your dreams are going to be really crazy during this time. Like things that you didn't see before concerning Venusian things. And again, Venus and Mars are together. Yeah, you're going to find out some things through your dreams that you didn't know before about, maybe even about your mother, but your psychic senses are going to be on it during this time. So pay attention to the dreams. Sagittarius, this is happening in your 11th house, which is the house of friends. So, you know, you could find out some things about your friends this time. There could have been somebody talking about you or something that hurt your feelings recently. And so at this time, you know, you're going to be able to confront it. Even if you don't confront them, you know, you can come to terms with it, you know, yourself. Do you want this person in your life or not, right? Capricorn, this is happening in your 10th house. If you've been having issues at work or surrounding loss of work, you're going to find out why at this time. Your anxiety could be really high right now about work. But again, pay attention to your spidey senses, because there could be people in your field that have been actively working against you. And so this might be a time to clear that up and resolve that. Aquarius, this is happening in your 9th house of the father and religion and spirituality and long distance travel. Be careful of your father's health at this time. It could be, you know, there could be some even dementia issues or anxiety, depression, that kind of thing. Pisces, this eclipse is happening in your 8th house of inheritance, other people's money, transformation. This could be a big time for you to, you know, uncover, because all of this stuff here is going to be in your 2nd house of money, right? Some new ideas that you've been, you know, thinking about. You have a lot of anxiety about money right now, but you could reveal some kind of like secret technique or something at this time that could help you with your money problems. Aries, this is happening in your 7th house. So, you know, this is your 7th house, and having all of these planets on your 1st house, like, you're just stressed out right now. There's a lot of stuff going on. You know, if you have been dating someone or if you've been married to somebody, you know, this could be a time where either you are together becoming a spiritual partner, or you're starting to drift apart because of your beliefs. That's a possibility. If you're not with somebody, then you know, this is a time to delve into your own spirituality and really focus on yourself. Taurus, this is happening in your 6th house of work and also open enemies. And so eclipses reveal things, right? So you might also, Taurus, if someone's been working against you, you might find out who they are at this time. Be careful of your health, be careful of depression, anxiety, that kind of thing. And make sure you're getting your sleep, because you've got all of this stuff in your 12th house, right? So do all the things, you know, take the bath, put the lavender in, you know, do whatever, you know, medication you feel that helps you, you know, melatonin, whatever. Yeah, be careful of your sleep during the eclipse. Gemini, it's happening in your 5th house of children, of creative projects, of our dharma in this life. And yeah, so, you know, if you, Gemini, are involved in teaching, or if your children are in school, really pay attention to, you know, what's going on with them, what's going on with your creative projects. There could be some kind of loss there. There could be some kind of secret that was withheld from you. So kind of dig in and pay attention at this time, what's going on in that area of life, okay? Now for Cancer, this eclipse is happening in your 4th house, and the 4th house is the mother, and it's also real estate. You know, if you've been involved in real estate, it may have been difficult since K2 went there into that 4th house since last March. But with the moon there, it may be revealed to you why it's been difficult to sell properties or get help or whatever. And then things with your mom or your mother's legacy could be revealed at this time. But it's also the house of happiness. And so be careful of your anxiety, Cancer. Don't let it get the best of you. Just do things that make you happy. Force yourself to smile and you'll turn this around. Now, Leo, this is happening in your 3rd house of media, communication, the siblings. You might find something out about your siblings at this time that surprises you. You could possibly, travel to see a sibling, or they could come to see you at this time, because 3rd house is short distance travel, right? But, the classic K2 moon combination is a loss. And just check in on your siblings, Leo, and make sure they're okay. Make sure they're not, depressed. Kind of do like a welfare check. That might help. And then Virgo, this is happening in your 2nd house, and the 2nd house is money. And so having K2 there with the moon, you have to be careful of obviously losing money, but also check your attitude about money too. Like, I found a lot of people that are spiritual people, right? They have a problem with money because they think it's not spiritual to have money. When the fact is that you need money in this life to survive, and you have to. And if you don't make it, somebody else has to make it for you. And so those kind of issues come up at this time, like, maybe it's finally time to tackle making money yourself and not relying upon inheritance or your family to give it to you, which is positive, because this eclipse is going to show you how you can make that money. It's highlighting the loss, but it's also showing you, well, let's look this way, because of all of those planets in the 8th house. It's other people's money coming to you, right? So I see that as positive. And, having Jupiter in Aries now is going to help everybody. It's going to be something that helps everybody move forward with pioneering new ideas, because Jupiter expands everything. And in Aries, he's going to be very highly creative. So I see this as a really good time. So yeah, that's what I have for my predictions for this lunar eclipse. And obviously, if you are interested in me looking at your chart, reading a chart for you, just go to my website, which is hindustanastrology.com. Click on the consultations tab at the top of the page. If you are a new client, then click on the new client tabs. If you are a return client, obviously click on those. And then also I do tarot and Reiki as well. And yeah, I'm here to help you and serve. And I hope that this May helps you. And this eclipse helps you. And we need to look at the rest of this month. So let's look at the rest of this month. There's just a few other things going on. After we have our lunar eclipse that we just went over, Mars goes into Cancer, which is debilitated on May 10th at 4:20 a.m. EST, and he's going to give his 8th aspect to Saturn. So actually, I think this might help Saturn in Shatabishak, because this is about healing hard-to-cure diseases. The emphasis is going to be on, Mars in Cancer debilitated often shows a low immunity. Autoimmune diseases are very hard to cure. I think that's going to be a highlight during this time. Then we have Mercury going direct on May 14th at 11:07 p.m. EST. And for this, we have it's in Ashwini again, right? So he's still in Aries. And during this time, we're going to see, because, Mars had been in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury was in Aries, ruled by Mars. So they had been in a Parivartana Yoga up until the 10th when Mars entered Cancer. So these are two enemy planets, so this is going to take some tension off of Mercury. I think it's going to be good. May 15th, we have the Sun entering Taurus. And then May 19th, we have the new moon at 4 degrees of Taurus Kritika. So this is especially auspicious for women this month because we have the moon at its exaltation point, which is at 3 degrees, but it's very close. So Sun entering Venus's sign, and then the moon exalted. I feel like women's issues are going to be a massive issue leading up into the summer, especially May 30th when Venus enters Cancer and it is conjunct Mars again. It's not over yet, this fight about abortion in the U.S., and I think that it's going to really heat up this summer. So yeah, that's what we have for this summer. Coming up, Venus going retrograde. And again, any questions, feel free to send me a message. And until next time, I want to say thank you and namaste. And I hope you have a great May. See you later. Bye.